Hi, folks. Welcome to what I'm pretty sure is the 8th in our series of Dharma Outreach, Dharma Talks. I'm afraid you've only got me today. Marshall can't be with us. But we do have a very special guest back on the show. Jess, thank you so much for agreeing to come back on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for
And
having me.
it's great to very kind of you to come back on.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. So I think I think we'll do something a little bit different today, and really from my point of view, quite self-indulgent, really. um, because I do like to tell a story, and I think what some of you out there might know, and some of you probably don't, and most of you probably don't, is that myself and Jess have quite a story going back some years. So I think if that's okay with you, Jess, we'll concentrate on that and how maybe our individual practices have kind of merged in some ways.
Sure.
Okay. Um, so, Jess, we met via a picture of Chewbacca, is that right?
Yeah, on some Facebook group. So I had been studying Thai massage and had been studying Buddhism and had found this like Buddhist group. You posted some picture of Jivaka who looked, in it, he looked very young and very Rusey like. And this was like the only time I had seen him portrayed without like the white hair. Uh, and I was like, oh, where is this? I must see this.
And I think it was very soon that I think it was very soon after I got talked into actually using Facebook because um, Facebook to me was always a government spy that was trying to watch my every movement. I still think it is, but but I've grown to I've grown to use it as a tool mainly to spread the Dharma. And for me, one of the probably the most amazing thing that ever came out of it was the fact that myself and Jess met. Um, so I was kind of talked into using Facebook, as I say, and I used it for. So I'm kind of intrigued. You saw the picture, and then I think you maybe messaged me because I had kind of spotty um, internet at the time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You had crazy spotty internet at the time. Yeah, I think we had started chatting there on the photo, and then I had friend requested you, and we started chatting from there.
And so I think I'm not good with time scales, but I think probably at that time I'd probably been living in the forest monastery there for probably I think it might have been maybe 2 years. I kind of get lost with the time.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you've been there 3 or 4 years. You've
yeah,
been
I kind of get lost with the time. And so this went on until you came to Chiang Mai, yeah?
Yeah, I came to Chiang Mai with a Thai massage group, and I had really only seen Bangkok and Chiang Mai, and that was it. And Bangkok only very briefly. I was very unfamiliar with anything outside of Chiang Mai at all, and I was still brand new to Chiang Mai. And I think you had explained that it was a bit of a trek to get to where you were, but I was so determined.
Right. And I actually I think I've said this to you, but I don't know if I have. So I'm going to say it now in case I haven't. At the time, I'd had a few people that had um, that had got in contact with me and wanted to come and stay at the temple there. and I'd gone through an elaborate process of trying to make this happen for people, and no one had shown up. So I don't even know if you know this. You might do. I can't. My memory's terrible. But by the time that you were so interested in coming, I was kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
because I'd kind of gone through this so many times.
Yeah, you were in a real I'll believe it when I see it sort of place. But you were happy to give me answers to anything that you could answer. But the task of getting from where I was to getting to you, I don't know. I figured I could like hop a ride or catch a bus. I really thought it would be much easier than it was.
Well, ironically, it got easier because they started running because I've got it. They started running a bus from Chaiyaphum to Chiang Mai, but that was after you visited. So you had quite a traumatic journey in a pickup truck that wasn't really.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I had asked Monchai, my tattoo artist, for help getting to Chaiyaphum. I was like, how do I do this? I went to all of the different travel agents and ticket agencies, and they were like, no, we're not going to help you get there. Nope. And I was like, but I need to get there. How do I do this? And he was like, no. He's like, what, you want to meet a monk? I'll take you to meet a monk. I'll take you to meet my monk. But like, he was so against helping me. And he saw that I was determined. And he was like, well, you're going to fall on your face if I don't help you. So I'm going to help you. And he took me to the bus station, and he went to the ticket counter, and he helped me get the right ticket. And then he came back with me to the bus station on the day that I was leaving, and he talked to the bus driver, and he was like, this girl needs to get off at this stop, because I needed to get off at like, I don't know, I think it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And he needed to call me a driver who needed to take me another 2 or 3 hours to you. And he needed to give this driver directions on how to get to you. But we didn't have any of that like worked out, and I had no idea that like where I was getting off the bus, it was going to be like the middle of the night in the middle of nowhere. This guy shows up, his transmission is shot, and he is like grinding through those gears. You can hear it. He must make like a million wrong turns. He pulls over and must ask like 7 or 8 different like groups of people how to get to this temple, or where is this temple. And we ended up finding you because everybody knew that you were the Farang monk. And they're like, oh, it's over here, right? And that's all I had to give was like, it was the Farang monk. We're looking for the Farang monk. Like, it didn't even matter what the name of the temple was. And then we show up, and I get out, and I'm like, okay, this must be the place. I recognize that picture of that monstrous Buddha that's out front. And I get out, and there's a number of nuns outside, like sweeping the steps. And I get out, and I've, got my hat on because it's a pretty chilly morning. And the meishis, they just like surround me. And they're all like telling me to pull my hat off, and I pull my hat off, and they're like ready to walk me off to their quarters because they think I'm there to stay with them. And I had to like kind of explain that I was looking for you. And then I called you in a panic because I was like, didn't know what was happening. And then somebody came and got you.
Yeah, that was interesting as well, because I kind of answered your phone call, I think, because I got a knock on my door, and it was I don't know, it was early in the morning. It was 5:30, something like that in the morning. I got a knock on my door by one novice who spoke a little bit of English, who said to me in broken English, your brother is waiting for you at the front. which like kind of threw me, because I don't have a brother. And as I say, I was very blasé about whether anyone was actually going to turn up, because people had got this far before. So I got myself together, and there you were.
Yeah.
And that's been the start of I don't know how many years now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've kind of lost track.
Those ladies were so kind to me. They put me up in your old room, right?
They did. I lived in a cupboard, as you see, because you were happy to stay there, because I didn't want, it was literally a cupboard. It was a storeroom. It was a storeroom before, and it was a storeroom after. But it was the only place for me at the time. and I had literally just moved out of there to the place with the crocodile,
Yeah.
and so I think I was kind of anxious about asking you to stay there, but you took it all very well, and it was rough. It was rough. Let's be fair. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not. There isn't. It wasn't one of these fancy temple stays that we see advertised now in and around Thailand, and especially in and around Chiang Mai. Yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty rough. It was attached to the. It was a storeroom attached to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I had a pillow, which I was grateful for. And then it was like a bamboo cot with just like a mat. It wasn't like a cushion, it was like a woven floor mat on top of the cot. There was no like padding or cushioning. And I actually was fine with it. All I needed was a blanket, and I was great. But they were so sweet. They had the hot water heater, the constant water heater set up and ready for me. They had like coffees and teas ready to go. They had little snacks there waiting for me. Like, and I really enjoyed helping them in the kitchen every morning. I like that was a really lovely way to live for a while.
I think that um, you got a temple stay experience that you can't buy.
Yeah, no, I genuinely felt like I lived very much like a monastic for a few days.
And you know, I think
Eating schedule because I didn't want to like eat in front of you when you weren't eating. I felt awful doing that, so I was like, okay. And oh my god, did they freaking stuff me? I've never eaten so much food in my life. And like, not only would they like fill my plates with food because I was too shy to go get my own, but they would fill my plates with food, and then you would give me your leftovers when you were done to like make a point in front of other people's, and then I felt bad like not eating what you had given me even though I was already stuffed from what they gave me.
I think for I mean, for anyone watching this, it's not and I get a lot of people asking about you know experiencing life in a temple, in a monastery, but you can't buy the shit that we had. You just can't buy it. It doesn't. It has to happen, and it happens for a reason. And I guess I could be cliched and said, "Oh, well, this is karma," but it actually is. um, and I think that there's a lot of cases when people stay in any kind of monastic organisation like that. There's a lot of falseness that goes on. People see what they're allowed to see, and I think that's a shame.
Yeah.
We didn't have that, and and as much as I had my struggles in Thailand, there's a lot of people I'm very grateful for in Thailand. Um, uh, especially our great friend Marot, who treated me like a son and
Yeah, she was a
tended.
lovely person. And the other woman, gosh, she had to be pushing like 85, 90. She was so tiny, the woman that I worked on while I was there. The people that were there, God, they gave from their hearts. And it really painted maybe a false expectation that all Thai temples were like that.
I think it's why I've struggled so much, to be honest with you. I think it's why I've struggled so much because it was far from perfect and I had my issues there and you know and but it was genuine and there's a lot of falseness out there, and that's really all I need to say about it. Um, but it was very genuine, both as a ordained Theravada monastic and as a lay visitor. The people were genuine. Um, so that was our first. I believe we probably spent hours until we got bitten to death by mosquitoes. Just
Every night we would do the morning routine, right? I would help the ladies in the kitchen, and we would do breakfast, prayers, and then breakfast. And then we would go have coffee. You always went and got your iced coffee or your hot coffee, and I would get an iced coffee. I don't remember, but always coffee after breakfast. And then sometimes we would hang out with the amulet guys. And then we just go sit at your kuti and talk for the rest of the day. We would break to go do lunch when it was time for lunch. We'd lay around again outside after lunch for a second, walk right back over to your place and sit and chat until the mosquitoes were unbearable.
And for me, I mean, you know, and I tell anyone anytime I get a chance, but it was a huge learning experience for me. And I know I said last time we talked on here that I've never called myself a teacher, and that's the reason, that's you know, the reason why, because I learn as much from anyone else. And I think there can be this, certainly with a lot of Theravada monastics, there's this barrier between them and lay folks, and I don't, that barrier isn't needed. If you need that barrier as a monastic, you really probably shouldn't be a monastic in my mind. But you know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay positive on this one today. So yeah, so it was fantastic, certainly for me, and we kind of went from there. And then I you know, I mean,
I came back again after
that's right.
the same trip, even.
I think
I
it was the
came away
same
at the
trip. It
beginning of the
was,
trip,
yeah.
and then again at the end of the trip.
I think it was right at the end of it was before you went to the seaside.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Before we went to Krabi.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And we met this woman at the bus station who was headed to Chayapum, and she spoke English, and we were in Bangkok, and she was like a little shocked that we were headed out that way. So she asked, and when I started talking about you, she was like, "Oh yeah, 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 the Farang monk. We all know him. We all know him."
I'm still really well known, you know, for you know, sometimes for the wrong reasons, but in Thailand, yeah, it surprises me, to be honest with you. Yeah, so I went through, and you know, you saw me through some pretty hefty surgeries. And then I lose those first two meetings were so great that I kind of lose track then. And then did you not talk me into going to Chiang Mai?
Yeah. Me in Bangkok, and we went to Chiang Mai together.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And that's where I met the most wonderful Ajahn Pichet.
Yes, yes, and we found the banana.
We did, yeah. It
Remember that?
was,
Fun.
yeah. It was a real adventure, to be honest with
Yeah, so silly me, I didn't think that it would be such an issue finding you a place to stay. You thought, oh, traveling monk, any temple's going to take you in, right? And we showed up at my friend's, who I had messaged from the airport in Korea. I was like, hey, we don't have a place for my friend to stay. You have your other room is open. Can we just stay with you for the first night while we look for stuff the next day? Because it was the flower festival. So like all the hotels and everything were booked. It was so booked. There was no finding a last minute spot. It was ridiculous. We showed up at his place exhausted from like hours and hours and hours of travel. And he's like, nope, you can't stay in my house. You're a monk. No, that's bad. That's bad juju. You can't stay in my house. And off he puts me on his bike to go run around to how many different temples to ask if you could stay at their temple, to have a number of people without even seeing you or knowing you, just saying, nope, we don't have room at the inn. Right. And it was just by chance. I mean, he rode through streets you were not supposed to ride through. We're up on sidewalks. We're on the sidewalk over by Ban Mana, and he saw that they have rooms for rent. And he just shouted to the woman behind the counter, like, "Do you have a room for the night?" Blah blah blah. And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, let's get it together."
And that was the start of another, you know, another great connection with the people that owned that place. Even when they shut, they used to put me up. because people think that and people still think now, when you tell people, they don't kind of believe it. That if you're a credentialed Theravada monastic, and I've got more pieces of paper than most Thai Theravada monastics have, you can stay anywhere, but that's not the case. As I found out the most recently when I was stuck in London with nowhere to stay when I was waiting to get my paperwork for here. So yeah, and really thanks to you, Chiang Mai kind of became a second home to me, and I would visit there both when you were there and when you weren't there, and I started speaking at Refuge Recovery meeting there in Chiang Mai as well, and that was really, all of this is really down to that one picture. It's down to that one picture that pops up in my Facebook memories now and again. But I have a lot to thank that picture for. So kind of this went on for a number of years, and then with your help, and I'm just conscious of the time. I've got this big clock in front of me, and as usual, we could go on and on, but we've got about 8 minutes left. So without your help, I wouldn't be in the US. But with your help, you finally got me to Chicago.
We gathered enough donations to afford your travel and your shipping all your belongings back to the States and putting you up for a while once you got here. And then we just kind of had to have faith and figure it out.
Yeah, and that kind of worked out and then kind of didn't. I think I knew I should never have got as involved with another Thai organisation as I did, and but and I said this last time, and I'm going to say it again, and I'll say it again and again. If it wasn't, there was a lot of people helped us, but really, if it wasn't for you setting the ball rolling and doing all that you did, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today with Marshall, which is really what I've always been wanting, where my heart's always been. I don't make any. People say I speak too much. I divulge too much, but I've never made any secret of the fact that I was a heavy Class A drug user and an alcoholic, and I think the more of us that are honest about that, the better. And I've been told certainly by Buddhist organisations, by monastic organisations, that I shouldn't be talking about things like that, which is exactly why I make so much noise about things like that.
Yeah, I mean, how can you talk to and connect with people if you put yourself in a position where you're like above them,
Yeah, and that's, and it is through our friendship and our relationship that I've managed to get in this position, and I do. I know you probably don't want to keep hearing it, but I do want to keep expressing my gratitude for that, because I just hang out with folks. That's all I do. I don't preach to anyone. I don't profess to teach anyone. I hang out with folks. But, with the huge amount of help that Marshall's given me since I've been in Massachusetts, and being able to work with and under his 501c umbrella, it makes a difference to people. And it all comes back down to that. Would it have happened without that? I don't know what would have happened without that, but it all comes down to the picture of tobacco.
It's funny what little pebbles set big rocks rolling,
For sure. And, I mean, and I guess folks that listen to this might think, well, it's self-indulgent Toad has just been talking about himself all the time, but it has a relevance because community for me is a big thing. And I've, you know, although I lived a long time in the same temple in Thailand, I never really found community. I did to a certain extent, but community is also about people, and you know, I think it's important that people realise that, you know, you can be the most studied scholar on any form of Buddhism you want, you know, unless you can put that into practice and then spread that wider out into the community, I question what you're doing. But you know, if you're doing it and you're not causing yourself or anyone else any harm, then fair enough. But it's certainly been a wild ride, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
I'm so glad you're finally getting to do community outreach. I know that that's been a really long journey for you. You know, I don't know if a lot of people realize, but like we got you to the States in like February of 2020, and then all of the COVID nonsense really hit in like March of 2020. And the whole point of like getting you here was to get you like out of isolation and into community, and like just by the will of the universe, it was the exact opposite that happened.
Yeah, and it would have kind of been very easy, to be honest with you, to give up and say,
Yeah.
I tried it, I'm going, because for once in my life, I've not burnt bridges at my temple in Thailand. As I've probably said to you many times, and I'll say to everyone on here, I make a habit of burning bridges. When I leave places, I burn bridges. I burn them with me standing on them just to show how serious I am about not going backwards. But I didn't burn any bridges in Thailand, so yeah, there was times when it was kind of tempting to say, okay, this is not going to happen. I'm going to go back there and I'm going to do nothing until I drop. Basically, that was never probably actually going to happen, but it crossed my mind. And you know, we're getting a lot of pushback. I'm getting a lot of pushback from the establishment, if you like, and that's okay. They don't have to like me. I spoke about this last time about letting no two of you go in the same direction, and I don't go in the same direction, but I hope I do some good. I like to think I don't do any harm.
Just by taking time to listen to people that don't often get listened to, you're doing good, right? And that's something that you were unable to do in the place that you were at. Like I don't think until I went there that I realized how inaccessible it is for English speaking people to get to, right? And while it might have been the idea to like get English speaking people to that location, it was just too inaccessible then for way too long. And it left you really isolated, which is great for development.
It was great for 4 years. It was great.
At a certain point before you have to like share those things that you've learned in that time, right?
That's exactly my point. That, you know, there comes a point where you have to be at least available to people, and I wasn't available there. But it's certainly been a wild ride, and it's not over yet. We'll see. And although I do complain about a lot of the establishment, both Theravada and not, there's still some good folks out there. There's some very good folks out there doing the same kind of work, and you know, hopefully we'll connect with those as well, and see how we go.
Yeah, I think this is what I think I've come to. There's good folks and poor systems.
I think that's a really good way to put it. I think that's a great way to put it. Jess, again, I could go on forever, but we're over time now. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'll try and give you a bit more of a break, but I'm going to ask if it's okay, I don't know it is, to invite you back because, you know, hopefully folks learn something from this. You know, I don't sit here quoting sutras. This I can do that shit. I can do it with my eyes closed. You know, I choose. It's a choice, folks, for not to. But yeah, I hope you'll agree to come back on.
Yeah.
So, Jess, thank you so much. I'm going to wind it up now, and it's always great just to sit and watch this big screen with you on it, and because I've got a huge screen with you on it as well as a small screen. So I'm sure that it won't be too long before we actually get to hook up in person again. But you take care, and thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you.